What's going on, people? It's HG Is to the Streets. So I'm gonna do a video reply to old girl getting arrested in ATL at the park. So yeah, let's get into it. So look, it's a lot of different ways you can look at this, and I'm gonna try to hit it from all angles very quickly because I'm doing this video in the middle of something, but I wanted to go ahead and reply to it. While it's fresh in my mind. This kind of boils down to individuality, in my opinion, because everybody is different. So how I might approach a certain situation is different than how other people are going to approach that situation. The first thing that we have to establish is that regardless of how you perceive this situation and how you would have went about this situation, that disagreeing with my approach or me not agreeing with your approach should not turn into any type of argument, any type of dislike, any type of disrespect, or anything. Two people should be able to have a conversation about a particular subject, disagree, and still leave that conversation in a good standing as they were when they first got into it. So that's the first thing I want to point out before I even say what I'm going to say, because a lot of people, if you don't agree with them or you disagree with them, they take it personal, and it may cause some type of friction within that relationship. So as individuals and as mature people, we have to understand that everyone's not going to agree with how you feel about something, and that's okay, and we can move forward with just agreeing to disagree on this particular point. So with that being said, I hope y'all take that into mind when I say what I say. You know what I'm saying? So let's all be grown adults and be able to have a discussion about something, disagree, and then just keep it rocking and moving how we've been rocking and moving, keep it respectful and keep the love following that. So moving forward, this is about, like I said, about individuality. So it's different ways people is going to handle this. Now, what I like to do is I like to look at the situation from all three perspectives. It's three parties involved in this. We got a couple, and then we got a police officer. So going into the situation, I'm gonna give you the perspective of how I would have treated the situation if I were a cop. Now this goes into individuality. Now I roll up on a man and a woman, they're hugged up on the side of the car. Okay, so we all understand this is a evening romantic situation where a man and a woman are, having some intimacy time, quality time, whatever you want to call it. This is basically like a romantic evening that these two are having amongst themselves. Don't look like they were disturbing anyone. It seemed like they were very quiet. Seemed like they were alone. They didn't appear to be under any type of influence of drugs or alcohol. So me as a cop, when I roll up on this, just the type of person I am, I'm like, oh man, they doing their thing. They both got action tonight. You know what I'm saying? So with that in mind, I'm approaching, I'm lightening my mood. This isn't a prowler. This isn't someone that's up to any no good. This is just a man and a woman doing what men and women do when they're getting to know each other, or when they have a liking for each other and they're just enjoying themselves together. No big deal. Now I'm the police officer going into this situation. I see that. So, I get out the car. I let them know that, the park is closed at this particular time, and, you're here after hours, and, basically off of Sydney ordinance, this is not allowed. With me as a police officer at that particular time, they could go on their way. There's no need for me to check their IDs. They're not they don't appear to be intoxicated. They're not doing any suspicious activity. I can clearly see this is like a romantic evening that they're sharing with one another. So in my eyes as a police officer, I'm like, I understand you guys are, having a moment right here, but I need you guys to exit the park. Boom. That's me as a police officer right there. Situation over with. They can go on about their way. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not the police officer. So let's say, playing devil's advocate, or hypothetically speaking, I asked for their IDs. Now I'm asking for their IDs, me still being the cop. I'm asking for their IDs just to see if maybe they got warrants, maybe they got traffic tickets, outstanding traffic tickets. Maybe they have something illegal attached to their name, which would warrant me possibly making an arrest. Because we know police officers have quotas, and they have to make their quotas. They have to make ticket quotas. I don't know if they have arrest quotas, but we definitely all know they have ticket quotas. So he runs the name, boom, boom. At this point, when I run their name, I'm the police officer still. I run their name, and I don't see they have any outstanding warrants, no outstanding tickets, nothing that comes up as a red flag on my police database. To, you know, if the police database doesn't show any red flags pertaining to these two individuals, then at this particular time, I also let them go. So not only do we have a couple being romantic, not bothering anybody, not under any influences, and I've ran their ID, and they don't have anything on their ID or attached to their identification that's illegal in any manner, then I also let them go after that and let them go on about their way. Okay? Now, let's go even further. Let's say that, you know, I ran their IDs. They don't have any red flags, but I feel some type of disciplinary action is warranted for this, because it is a city ordinance, and they are breaking that city ordinance whether they knew about it or not. So, me being a police officer still, hypothetically speaking, what I would do is, if I was going to even take it further, because I would have been let them go off the jump. You know what I'm saying? But let's say I go further. Why not issue them a warning citation? You clearly see they have out-of-state tags. That doesn't mean they don't live in Atlanta because they have out-of-state tags, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, they have out-of-state tags. They're not doing anything. They're not under the influence. I ran their IDs. They don't have any red flags on their attached to their IDs. Okay, I'm still going to enforce the law to an extent, because they are breaking an ordinance or a law at this particular time. So why not just issue them a warning citation? Now, a warning citation is just to acknowledge that you've been told about this. You've been made aware that you're doing something that you don't supposed to do. And when you do that, that puts it in the police database as they've been warned. So if they do this again, when they pull that up, the next officer will be able to see that, and then that next officer will be like, well, you had a warning citation about this a month ago, so you're in this park again. Now I'm going to issue you a ticket because you were warned about something that you didn't know about. Now, see, those three things would be my course of action before I even write the ticket. Now, this is me as a police officer, so this is just my individuality, how I would handle the situation. Okay, boom, moving forward. Writing a ticket, I just wouldn't have did it. I just wouldn't have wrote a ticket for that. So I can't even go into a hypothetical of writing a ticket, because I wouldn't have wrote a ticket for that as a police officer. I wouldn't have wrote a ticket. And if I would have wrote the ticket, you know, when it gets to the ticket part, now you have to ask yourself, now you have to question policy. And what happens in these type of situations is we're so fearful of the power structure that we don't question it. Our best defense to the power structure is to always cooperate, so it won't be no smoke or it won't be no issue. And see, that's the problem. That's a bigger problem within itself, because that means this power structure can dictate anything to you. And just because you don't want an issue, you don't want no smoke, you want things to be easy, then you'll always comply. So that's the mind state. That's how I see things with people who are saying, oh, she would have just been quiet, or she wouldn't have just said nothing. Boom, boom, boom. That's true. If she would have just signed the ticket, went on about her business, went to court, she probably would have got a fine, or they probably would have threw it out in court. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So in regards to having the mind state, I don't want smoke, then I agree with you. If you don't want no smoke, sign it, no big deal, take the ticket, hop in your car, drive off. I feel you. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that approach. There's nothing wrong with that approach. But that's a defeatist type of approach. That's a I don't want no problems approach. So anytime this power structure inflicts its authority on you, whether it's wrong or right, that means you'll be submissive in that situation, and you'll basically, avoid the smoke. You know what I'm saying? And if that's your stance on these things, that's just your stance. Now, some of us have a little bit more. It ain't. I wouldn't even call it defiance. It's just a more of a standpoint of what's right, what's wrong, what's fair, what's not fair. So moving forward. Now I'm not the cop anymore. Let's say I'm the female. No, I'm not that I'm the female, but let me just speak on behalf of the female and how she handled the situation. Goes back to what I said. She could have easily conformed to what she was asked of her, signed the ticket, and went on about her business. Now, all she was doing was asking questions. You could tell she had she was a little unpleased with what was going on. But let me say this. You cannot look at that video and not look at this as a situation where it's a do what I say or accept what I'm giving to you, or these are the consequences. Now just look at this. Look at how policy is set up, and this is a law. When you're issued a ticket, you have two options, and we've seen what those two options were. You either sign this ticket, which is admitting that you are guilty of what I'm accusing you of, because that's what that signature means. That's an admittance of guilt on this particular situation, or you cannot sign a ticket and you go to jail. So those are your two options. You have no room. There's no gray area for you to dispute something that you feel isn't right or isn't fair or is unjust. You see what I'm saying? You have to go through the process of court for that, which is a whole nother bill within itself. You see what I'm saying? Now, when you look at it like this, now you have to understand power structure. Power structure. The power structure is set up where it's a double-edged sword anywhere you go. Anywhere you go, it's a double-edged sword. Who wants a ticket? Nobody. If you feel you're doing something that's really not no big deal, who are you to say it ain't a big deal? Because it's the law. So sitting in the park past the hours of the opening of the park or the closing of the park, this warrants some type of ticket, right? Okay. Were they doing anything? No. Did she do anything wrong? She didn't she didn't accept the citation. That's what she did wrong. Now, questioning the officer. Is that wrong? No. Should we be able to question policy in this America? We should be able to, but we know once you question it, you got power coming behind you. So if you're not willing to meet that power equal force, then you have some people who will just avoid the situation. So that's what we're dealing with here. For the people who are saying, oh, she should have just took the ticket. She should have just took the ticket. She should have just took the ticket. That just shows you the type of mentality you have and where you're at in your life. People who would refuse the ticket and do what she did, basically, what you can say is to a degree is resisting arrest, and you go through what you go through, and then that adds another charge onto you. Now you got to resist an arrest, or you could just refuse to sign a ticket, go to jail, and it won't be a resisting arrest, but it'd be a refusal to sign, and then they'll just charge you on the ticket, and then you'll get your day in court. You see what I'm saying? So that's the process. I would always suggest avoiding the situation. The reason I would say avoid the situation is because if you don't have an organized effort when doing something, then it's kind of just pointless to do. So especially on something so petty like this, you know what I'm saying? So I agree with everyone that's saying she should have just wrote the ticket and took it. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? I would have did the same thing. In that situation, I would have did like the dude. Just went ahead and signed the ticket. I'm not about to let this mess up my night with you, baby. That's what I'm on. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. We ain't about to let this ruin this night. You know what I'm saying? We'll worry about this in court. You know what I'm saying? You ain't messing up my night, officer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comply. I'm going to go ahead and sign the ticket and boom, boom, boom. But I don't hold it against her for doing what she did, because as a people, we need to start questioning this power structure, and we really need to question how it doesn't work in our favor. It does not work in our favor. You know, at this point, it's kind of tyrannical. And if you know anything about the United States Constitution, you know, it says that, you know, if a government gets to a point where it's being tyrannical, that the people have the duty to overthrow that government. You see what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother topic. Come to One Nation if you want to talk about that. Come to one of our meetings if you want to chop it up about that. But, you know, I would have went ahead and signed the ticket and continue to enjoy the rest of my night with my lovely lady. That's how I would have moved with it. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're going to fight the power structure in any type of way, or try to not fight the power structure, if we're going to try to help correct the power structure, then we need to do it in an organized way. It needs to be an organized way. You know what I'm saying? Correct it. So, the guy, you know, I don't hold him in no type of contempt of anything. You know, he don't want no smoke. He didn't want no smoke from the get-go. That's why he signed the ticket. When he asked, do I have to sign this? And the cop said, you cannot sign it, but you're going to jail. You see, he reached for the pen. Let me go on and sign this. Now, as him being with her, I don't know how, maybe he don't know her like that. Maybe they do know each other for a long time. I'm kind of thinking that he maybe didn't know her that well, because if that was like my girl, or I had a nice rapport with her, and even if I didn't have a nice rapport with her, I would have told her just to go ahead and sign the ticket. Like, look, don't argue with them. Go ahead and sign the ticket. Let's finish having a good night. Now, that's the only thing I could say that he didn't do. He should have intervened and told her to pipe down, sign the ticket. Don't worry about the ticket. Let's go ahead and get this over with and finish enjoying our night. Enjoying the night is a lot more important than arguing over this ticket right now, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to him, that's the only thing I would have suggested for him. You know what I'm saying? To do. You know, I don't expect him to beat up the police officer. I don't expect him to go to jail. I don't expect him to get shot, tased, or what have you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, this basically goes down to individuality and how you approach situations. You know, once the officer said put your arms behind your back, and you didn't put your arms behind your back, we already know that's gonna get physical. We know that's gonna turn physical. So was it excessive? I think the officer was upset because she didn't comply. That's what I think it was, you know. And I don't think he was upset to the point where, like, you know, he wanted to beat her up or anything, but he's kind of like, look, okay, well, look, this is how this is going. You're either going to sign the ticket or you're going to jail. She kept asking questions, which probably frustrated him more. So he was just, all right, we're done. You're going to jail. And then after he's made up in his mind that she's going to jail, by her not putting her arms behind her back easily and willfully, then that turns into a more physical situation, because now he has to subdue her because he's made up in his mind she's going to jail. So in that situation, you know, that's why it got drug on so far. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, in conclusion, all I can say is, some of us are ready to address the situation in this country when it comes to the police force, when it comes to their policies, when it comes to the whole structure, when it comes to, you know, citizens not being afforded their rights. a million laws that don't make no sense that we have to abide by just because some people somewhere sitting in a room, you know what I'm saying, is delegating these things. We have to take more responsibility for not being politically aware of things, not knowing our laws, not knowing who's in office. We have to be held accountable for them things, and it's me as well, because I have no knowledge of political science whatsoever. So I'm just as guilty as that on that behalf. But there are a lot of laws and things that, you know, don't work in the people's favor. But until the people organize and do something about it, then you have to accept what you're being given, and that's exactly what's happening. So, you know, in this situation, you know, if you're not going to organize and really make an effort to change things, then you kind of got to accept things for how they are and not bitch about them. You know what I'm saying? Sitting on Instagram, you know, crying about this. That's one thing. But if you want to start sitting down and organizing and developing strategies on how we can correct some of the unjust things in the system, then, you know, please come to One Nation meetings, because that's what we're doing. And you know, that's pretty much all I got to say on this particular situation. We out.